Hey everybody, welcome to Real Talk with Ellasin, and I am Ellasin. Real Talk. On this show, we talk about real issues that impact real people and we keep it down to earth. Now, these issues that we talk about here on Real Talk not only affect the people of God, but the community as a whole. And if you're joining us, whether it's via Facebook or YouTube, we ask you if you're on Facebook to go ahead and hit the like button, share it out. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe and also share it out. Whatever your preference is, we just ask that you share it out so that someone else can hear what's going down here on Real Talk. Now, today we have a special edition of Real Talk. We'll be talking about something called SAD, right? And SAD is estimated to affect 10 million Americans, and another 10 to 20% may have mild SAD. Now, you may be saying, Ellison, what in the world is SAD? Well, here to help us develop our understanding of what it is, we have Arnella Edwards. She is the owner of Sobriety and Suboxone Holistic Services. Good evening, Arnella. How are you? Arnella?
Yes, I am doing. Do you have? Let me.
Okay. And also joining us today, we have Rochelle Bailey. Rochelle is also a part of Sobriety and Suboxone Holistic Services. How are you, Rochelle? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
That's good. It's good to see you, ladies. Arnella, hey.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, for a minute there, I had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I'm back.
It's
Hi,
okay. It's live.
everyone.
They understand. Tell us a little bit about Sobriety and Suboxone Holistic Services.
Okay, so it was founded on the premise that people do have a disease, addiction for one, and there's not much places around here that cater to our population of people that are suffering from substance use. So over time, with the closing down of this huge facility, where I know a lot of you have heard about Christian psychotherapy services,
Mm-hmm.
they closed down in January. So, most of my patients for mental health. So I said, why not combine both? Because people who suffer from addiction do have mental health issues and vice versa.
Right. Well, you know what? We're going to have you on the show just to talk about that because mental health disorder they is really we I feel like we drop the ball sometimes on that. So we're definitely
Right.
going to have you guys back if y'all don't mind sometime to talk about, addiction and mental health. But today we are talking about SAD,
Okay.
seasonal affective disorder. What in the world is SAD?
Well, do you want me to take the floor first, Rochelle?
Sure, go
Maybe
for
you
it.
can add. Okay, so that definition said it was like we don't even say that anymore because in our DSM-5 it's gonna be major depression recurrent with a seasonal features or seasonal
Yes.
patterns. So that was, although it really says it all, because is you know when sunlight goes down, then sadness goes up, and it really fits the SAD, seasonal
Right.
affective disorder.
Right.
So somebody decided to change it and basically just say major depressive disorder recurrent because it has a lot of features of the of major depression. So it's major depression with seasonal affective features. Did you
Okay,
want to add
so
to that?
so so if I hear you correctly, right, and
Mhm.
Rochelle, jump in and help me out here. It's a
Mhm.
type of reoccurrent depression that happens with the seasons, right?
Yes, but
And they call it seasonal affective disorder, but we know because of clinical reasons. But
right.
for the regular population, they don't know about major depressive disorder. So I guess SAD is the best thing to go for. But it normally happens around when, Rochelle?
It typically happens around winter season. As you know, wintertime, sunlight goes down quicker, right? People typically feel sad, feel gloomy, Also, studies have shown a lack of vitamin D
Mm,
cause SAD, sad. So let's backtrack and reoccurring. It's more so a type of depression, right, with a seasonal component of it, right? So that sadness, that gloominess, that lack of energy, right? And in the clinical setting, we have a terminology for it that's called anhedonia. Pretty much lack of desire in doing things you used to do. So,
mm,
for example, if you used to like, walking, right? Going out, hanging out with friends, right? When you start to experience these symptoms of sadness, we tend to close down.
okay.
We lose interest in our day to day activity. Also, studies have shown that women are more prone to sad. And there are discussion that there could be some correlation between hormones and sad, like
Okay.
low estrogen as well.
Okay. So I definitely want to talk about that, but I know there is, so we
Mhm.
say seasonal, right? You said mostly when the winter months, it said a lot of military deal with this as often separated. So is he, I guess he's asking if the military kind of deal with this as they're separated from their families.
Not necessarily. I would consider that military separation, to me, that is considered an adjustment disorder, right? You are
Mhm.
separated due to TAD deployment. You're pulled from your environment, right, that
Mhm.
you're used to, and you're thrust into a whole new environment. You're around people that you typically don't spend a great deal of time with. So to me, that's more so an adjustment phase, an
Right.
adjustment period
Yeah.
that you're going through.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I
Well,
agree with that. I agree with
if I
that.
may, and if I may add, it has to be at least 2 years because you have to compare it with the year before. So you
Mhm.
have to
Mm,
have that criteria mixed in. It has to be 2 years for us to call it that.
okay. All right.
Mhm.
So let me go back to this, to sad, and just for purposes, we're going to talk about that. So when you're dealing with this and you're saying the fallish, the winter months, the trees are dying, the leaves are dying, changing colors, and typically it goes away maybe spring, summer months. Can you get this during those spring, summer months though?
So when you talk about spring, summer months, I wouldn't consider that as sad per se. I would assess the member further and explore, right? Do a deeper dive because then we're talking about, okay, is this major depression right at this point? Because when you think about the spring, the summer months, it's more light. People are more
Yeah.
excited, right? Ready for a change in the season.
Mhm,
So if
mhm.
someone's still experiencing some sadness, some down, some gloominess, well, explore. Let's collect history on you and find out when did this begin, what are your symptoms, and so forth.
Okay. So Arnella, Rochelle said something about the light, right? So because I know, some may say it's a biochemical imbalance in the brain, and because of
Right.
the less light in the daytime. Yeah, I mean, I think it gets dark, what, 4:30, 5 o'clock now. So
Mhm.
That
basically, not only do the fall we fall back and spring forward, but it's almost like a biological intern clock causing a disruption in the daily schedule. How important is that daylight and that sunlight?
because there's a shift in your circadian rhythm, and when I say there's a shift in your circadian rhythm, basically your whole sleep time is thrown off balance because it's night at like 5 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and most time when night comes down, it's normally 9 o'clock when it's time for people to go to bed between 9 and 10 o'clock. But when most people start going to bed at like 6 o'clock because it's already dark, then
Right.
everything is just thrown out of balance.
Mhm.
So that's why they said that happens because the light strikes the retina in your eyes, and it signals the brains, and it basically goes ahead and you have all these serotonin and all that stuff in your brains. So when that light is not there, to get things going, then most people become sad. Most people just start sleeping. It's oversleeping. You have this lack of energy, this craving for carbohydrates, weight gain. Everything is all intertwined.
Right. And I heard Rochelle say something about vitamin D, and if it's getting dark earlier,
Mhm.
then we're not getting the natural vitamin D from the sun.
You're
Mhm.
correct.
And
Yep.
that can affect as well, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And studies have shown that the African American population, right, we are already dark skinned, we have melanin, and we still don't get enough sunlight. So
Mm,
that's why the primary care doctor will recommend that you take a supplement, a vitamin D supplement, because
right.
we don't get enough sun.
Yeah. I agree. I'm on vitamin D. I've
Okay.
been on vitamin D. If they don't
Yes.
take me off this vitamin D, I'm so sick of taking vitamin D, I forget to take vitamin D. So
Well,
I understand. So let's talk about risk factors. And I think you hit on it. You said like females,
Mhm.
are risk
mhm.
factors, young adults. What other risk factors are there for people that can get sad?
Well, just as you say, lack of vitamin D, that's one of them. So even during the natural summer month, if you're not out there getting the natural vitamin D, then your body's not going to be prepared during the winter time because
Right.
you never stock up that reserve that you can have it basically to kind of protect you. So that's the first thing we basically kind of rule out, like say, let's go check your vitamin D levels. Let's see if that's the reason why you have become so depressed.
Right.
So that is just, we do have to rule out Cushing syndromes and all that stuff as well to make sure it's not really any hormone issues that's going on. That's the reason why you're depressed.
Okay. So does family history of depression have anything to do with that? Or maybe I have a personal history of depression?
It
I would
can.
it can somebody being predisposed due to genetic
Mm-hmm.
reasons definitely put them more at risk or higher risk, right, of developing sad or just depression in general, right?
Mm,
However, but your lifestyle plays a big part, not because you're genetically predisposed, also the life you desire to live, eating healthy, exercising, right? Feeding the brain, making sure that you're stimulating your mind with positive things. Because by nature, we as human, we tend to gravitate towards the negative. It's very easy, right?
mm,
To get sad, to get lonely, you isolate from people. So you have to be in tune with yourself, know your triggers, know what put you down, what pumped you up, right? And you can feel when yourself is slipping. So if you don't stop, right, identify it and change course of action, then you're going to be stuck in a deep rut.
okay. So Arnella, right? So Rochelle was explaining about, the triggers and recognizing the triggers and everything. But if I'm a person who either has a family history of depression, or I might have bipolar, how likely am I to be affected by this?
So, just like Rochelle said, you have the predisposition already. So basically, um, it's very easy for you to get in that phase of sadness when that time comes because you already have those things that that predisposes you, just like a person have diabetes or their family member has diabetes. So they know that they have to basically stay away from certain things because it's so easy for them. Even if someone is not overweight, they're not doing the things that they're eating right, but they can still have diabetes just because a family member has it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those people have to be extra careful and basically do what they're supposed to do to stop themselves from getting it. But like I said, if you try to basically keep up your energy during the summer months, get your vitamin D in check, make sure your thyroid is not malfunctioning, make sure everything is okay, then
Mhm.
you stand a better chance of, you know, doing therapy and all that stuff. You stand a better chance of not having it like really bad.
Okay.
You may have a mild, you may have some mild symptoms, but basically, you have that reserve that you can use it to basically get rid of these symptoms.
Okay. Because I was looking at a study and I seen where it said 10 to 20% of people with major depressive disorder and about 25% of the people with
Mm-hmm.
bipolar disorder can be affected by SAD. And it was something you said about know your triggers. So okay, so my mother, right? My mother used to come every year on December 18th faithfully every year and stay until February. So her coming and now she's no longer with me. So
Mm-hmm.
how would I as a person know the difference between I'm feeling a little low because of, seasonal affective disorder, or am I feeling sad because I'm still grieving around the time? Like how would I know the difference?
So let's look back at the criteria. Like we said, it has to be like recurring. It has to be like it started last year, but you didn't even pay attention to it because you just
Mm,
thought it was normal, this time of the year. But when it happened again this year and it didn't last past, the springtime, it just started somewhere in, November, December, when time started getting the lights starting getting dim, so to speak.
mhm,
So
mhm.
you have to just fish out those criteria to say, hey, I had it last year. So that sounds like something is going on, or this looks
Okay.
like something is going on. Let's go check it out.
So
Okay.
to
So self-awareness, right, Rochelle?
self-awareness, and also to add to that is like you are aware of your trigger. It to me that sounds like anticipate anticipatory sadness, right? If you trying to decipher if you're still grieving or just experiencing sadness, or you think you are developing seasonal affective disorder, then you can ask yourself, right, when did this feeling come on? Is it present most days and last most of the days? Does it last is it lasting more than 2 weeks? Right? Is it impairing your performance? Right? Because you can be sad, you can grieve, but you can still be functional. Right?
Mm,
And
mhm,
That's
grieving
the
doesn't
important thing.
last forever. So you anticipate you're going to be sad because guess what? This day reminds me of my mom, right? But okay, this day come. What about 2 weeks from now? Are you still sad about it? Or are you able to shake that feeling and shift to a more accepting feeling? Like, okay, I have fond memory, right? I no longer feel sad. I miss her. And
mhm.
this is the reality of it. And you are able to carry on your life and and be perfectly fine.
Right. So I'm hearing both of you guys say self-awareness is very important, and
Mhm.
doing a self-check is very important. Like, okay, this is reoccurring. What's going on? Is it the same time, around the same year? Those are all important to identify within yourself to know what's going on, or if I need to get some help.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, most definitely. And just having a support system, right? Support system, accountability. Not everything will lead to therapy or medication. Just having a group of people or even one person where you can be vulnerable, you can share your authentic self without having any guilt or shame. That might
Mm,
be all you need.
right.
give
Now
you
that part is
more
important.
motivation. Absolutely. So
Hmm.
that might be all you need, somebody just to encourage you and just to talk to you, explore your feelings, your emotions.
Hmm.
And some people do fine with that. Others need a little bit more. Others may need therapy. Others may need medication. So it's just like it based on that individual need.
Hmm. So explore your emotions. How do you do that if you don't know your emotions, Arnella? And I want to say, like, so many of us are taught, right?
Mm-hmm.
You From where I grew up, it's like, okay, what goes on in here stays in here. You don't you put the mask on when you walk out the door, so you're not really addressing your emotions. So now here I am feeling some kind of way around this time of the year, and I'm not exploring my emotions. And I heard Rochelle said, explore your emotions, get with someone, allow yourself to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
So how important is that for me to explore my emotions, get with my support system, and allow myself to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, this is what I'm going through.
Authentic, authenticity. That's it. You have to take a deep dive, right? I normally call it real talk, no BS.
I like that.
Because you're going to have to literally look in the mirror and talk to yourself. It's a
Right.
scary process. It
Mm,
doesn't feel good, but you're going to have to keep doing it until you believe it.
mm,
But
that's
it's
good.
a process. And some people, unfortunately, they'll never get to that level of intimacy with themselves. They'll never experience it because it's very scary. And
Ooh, that was good.
others, right? Others will get it if they go sit down with a therapist.
Hmm. So and I'm saying I, but not I, but so a person may never develop that level of intimacy within themselves because they don't want to look in the mirror and learn themselves, learn their emotions, sit in that, and
Mm,
then be able to express that. So how in the world do I identify if sad or major depression or anything else? How do I identify with that? That was so powerful, Rochelle.
mhm,
Well, unfortunately, some people never do. They just
mhm,
choose to suffer alone because they have not come to an awareness that basically these
Mm,
things are not normal. Not being able to function is not normal at all.
mm.
mhm,
Choose to suffer alone. That's a big one right there. Choose to suffer alone, because I feel like that's a society thing. Like,
mhm,
we have to always feel like we have it all going on. So
Right.
I'm suffering on the inside, and I'm not letting anyone know that, hey, this is what's happening with me right now. So that those are all powerful. You're watching Real Talk with Ellison, and we are talking with Arnella and Rochelle about SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder, and where they were giving us some great insight on how we need to be self-aware in order to know what it is we're going through. So let's talk a little bit about symptoms. I know we touched on it somewhat, but
Mm-hmm.
social isolation, low energy,
mhm.
what are some symptoms that I need to look for?
So one is sleep problems, having difficulty sleeping, changes in your appetite and your weight. So when experiencing SAD, people tend to, reach for high carbohydrates, right? We eat it, we gain weight. Loss of interest in work, hobbies, people, withdrawal from friends and family members, feeling useless, hopeless, having guilt about how you're feeling, and sometimes just having pessimistic thoughts or even low self esteem. Some people get agitated, right? Irritability, fatigue. You have problems concentrating, right? Crying easily or feel like crying, but not being able to identify the reason for it, right?
Mhm.
Even some people experience thoughts of suicide, loss of touch with reality, and it goes as far as people will even start hallucinating. So you have visual hallucination and auditory hallucination. So those are the most common signs and symptoms of it.
So even though this is so Arnella, even though this is seasonal, it could lead to thoughts of suicide.
Absolutely.
Just because remember, it is depression, and those are
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that happens when someone is depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not getting any help, and they just think they're just hopeless, about ever being able to function. Some people don't realize that yes, this is seasonal, this is going to go away. As soon as spring comes around, you know they get to that point when yes, they can feel that, hey, I'm alone. What is this going on with me? I'm hopeless. I'm just gonna not exist anymore.
Yeah.
So we hope that it never comes to that point, because
Mm.
when they overeat and all that weight coming on, a lot of people start self-loathing and looking in the
Mm.
mirror. Some people hate their bodies, and it's one thing sometimes leads to the other.
Mhm.
Right, right,
So
right. Because yeah,
that's
that
where
was
that
that was
comes
good.
from. That's where
That
that
was
comes
good
from.
because now I've eaten everything I can see under the sun. I done watched all the Lifetime with the bonbons on the couch. And
Yeah.
and then now here I have all this weight. So now the weight gain, I am not feeling, first of all, I haven't identified inside that I was sad in the first place. And now I have gained all this weight. So I'm not happy with my outside. So can sad go from this season and lead into depression?
Well, it is depression
Well, I
with
mean,
a
it is, but
seasonal
can it be
component.
ongoing past the winter months?
Absolutely, most definitely, and that will lead to major depressive disorder. Most
But then
definitely.
you don't call it sad anymore. It is just
Mhm.
Right.
it has upgraded itself. We're not dealing with just little symptoms of the light just not being there, and we can go get some light box and basically get ourselves lifted from the depression, because there you go, you have the light box that you can use to help
Hmm.
yourself. So, or light therapy, so to speak, to help yourself. So then it transcends beyond. It
Mhm.
stops being just SAD. It gets
Mhm.
to major depression, maybe leading up to suicide, maybe leading up to, that's the biggest one anyway.
Right.
Hurting yourself, hallucinations, and all that stuff.
Right. And how important is it for me to even identify? Because some people will be like, "Man, I don't know why I'm snapping all of a sudden. All of a sudden, everything just gets on my nerves. I'm irritated all the time." When should we take note that it's not just me snapping, Rochelle?
The fact that you're snapping, that should be a red flag, right? For you to ask yourself what has changed, what is going on, right?
Hmm.
And I'm going to go out and say that no one is an island. Everyone is surrounded by someone at some point. People that know you, they will starting to see that subtle change, right? And a lot of people will say something, what's going on? You look so irritable. You look so sad. You don't feel like you act like you don't want to be bothered. What's going on? And if people are telling you these things, to me, that should be like, okay, let me take stock of myself and
Hmm.
try to figure out what is causing that change,
Hmm.
right? And if you cannot answer that question, then how about, you know what, let me go sit with a professional. You can even go and talk to your primary care doctor. Talk to them, him or her, be like, hey, I notice, this particular time, this is what's going on. I'm experiencing this, and I just really don't know what to do. So that provider will start an assessment and, ask you more questions, right? And hopefully by the end of that appointment, he or she will have an answer. If it's not within her scope, right, he or she will refer you to a mental health professional,
Okay.
because that is our focus. That's all we do. While a primary care provider, They take care a little bit of everything on a broad scale. And
Mm-hmm.
mental health, granted that they can prescribe some medications, majority of them, they'll leave it up to the mental health professionals to do that.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's a good point. So, and another thing I wanna bring up is about sleep. You guys brought about the excessive sleeping, hypersomnia. So, if I'm sleeping all the time, a lot of people say, "Ooh, I can sleep in this weather. It's nice and cold. I get my blanket, and but in the meantime, so I want to go to this comment right quick. We have a comment and it said, I am SAD. I have gained weight. I know the grace of God is keeping me standing. Tomorrow, my daughter will be gone for a year. It hurt and it's hard. Do I take up a new hobby?
I would
Yes,
say,
I would say yes.
yes, taking up a new
Definitely.
hobby is good, but what does she mean by her daughter's gone
Her
for
daughter passed
passed away?
away. It'll be 1 year.
So my question to her would be, have she sat down with a grief counselor?
Mm-hmm.
Have she explored her feelings, right? So those are the things that I would recommend. Grief counselor, explore your feelings, go sit with somebody, talk about it. Taking up a new hobby is great, but at the same time, if you don't address the issue, you're going to continue dance around it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
going to be a cycle, but you're not addressing the true issue, right? The hobby is just going to distract you. But how long can you continue to go, go, go? You're going to
Right.
have a breaking point. So get a new hobby, address the grief, right? Acknowledge it, allow yourself to feel it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we're in such a hurry to move on, but sometimes you just got to allow yourself to sit in it and feel it. The
Yeah.
key is not sitting in it forever, stay stagnant, but
Yeah.
allow yourself to feel it, process it,
That
right?
part.
And so, because grieving, it's a process. It
It
doesn't
is a
happen
process.
overnight, it doesn't go away in 5 years. You
Mm-mm.
will still have a part of you that will still have some sadness. And you
Yeah.
have to tell yourself being sad is an emotion and nothing is wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's
I
like it's
I
what
like that.
you do with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you allow yourself to wallow in it constantly? Do you have pity party constantly? But it's okay for us to feel these emotions.
Yeah.
What make us
I like that.
human.
Yeah, I like that because sometimes we don't allow ourselves to feel. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we go through the grief, but sometimes I know we don't always let it. We don't fillet ourselves and let it all out. So we're holding it in, and then sometimes we're stuck in like complicated grief. Sometimes we're stuck and we don't move on, and that would be a whole nother show on grief. And I've done it before, but I know we need to do it again. So I would love to talk more about that because there are so many people grieving. And another thing about grief, and I know we're talking about sad, but even in relationships there's grief, but that's a whole nother real talk that we're
Right,
gonna have to
right.
get y'all back on for. So and addressing her question, grief, I believe she's in, she has addressed some of her grief, but here we are this time of the year. My loved one has passed away, and that's where, how do we know again if it's part of the grief, part of the seasonal, part of major depression, which is all, kind of intertwined, but how do
Right.
I really know?
Mhm.
That's
Well,
the
So,
question.
oh, okay. When the season is up, like when we get, that's the point when we get to the spring season, it should not be around. It should
mhm,
not be a part of our makeup. It should not be around. So that is when it is a part of SAD, is just because it happens during the season. But if it happens outside of the season, after the season is over, then we know we have to look at it again and say, look, this is not just seasonal affective disorder that we have been dealing with. We are dealing with something more deeper. Then we
Yeah.
have to get reassessed again and look at it and say, you know what? No, this is more. It may become abnormal grieving. It may be you know
Yeah.
other things, but if it goes once it goes beyond the
The
season and
season.
goes
Yeah.
over in the springtime when it's light and everyone around us is happy, because it's the spring and the summer, and we are still stuck in that sad mode. Then no, it's not going to be SAD.
Right, right. And I like that you said reassessed again, because sometimes we feel like, well, we did that, we dealt with it, but now I am feeling this again. And it's nothing wrong with going back. It's nothing wrong with going back and just getting a checkup just to make sure you sharpen your tools. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Sharpen your coping skills, sharpen those tools.
Yeah.
And I had brought up about people saying, oh, this weather, I can just sleep all day in it. When do we have to be concerned that we sleeping all day long every day?
When it affects our work, our productivity,
Mm-hmm.
then we have to say something is going on here. It's not just sleeping because it's vacation, or sleeping because basically you can just sleep when you don't want to get up, when you're not motivated to go out there and be productive, when all you do is lounge in your pajamas, get that big thing of chocolate, and you just eat, then you know that, look, I got to do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not getting me anywhere. I'm losing money because I'm not going to work. I'm calling
Okay.
in. So that's concern. That's really concerning when someone starts to have that happening.
So let's talk about COVID, because you said lounging in your pajamas, and half of us started working from home, and from the neck up, we are looking
But
like $1 million.
you are being productive. You are being productive because yes, you're home, but yes, you are working. You are being productive. So that's the difference right there. If you were supposed to be working and you said, "Oh, I am not doing any work today," and yes, you can have a mental health day just to relax. But if this
Okay.
becomes a pattern and this becomes a habit, and you look around and you can't even find a place to when you're getting off the bed because you just don't care how you look, how
Right.
you're just wanting to eat basically and just sleep, then there's something going on there when you were a productive person before. So that's the
Mm.
criteria right there, that you cease to become a productive person and just become a shadow of yourself, so to speak.
Wow. A shadow of
And
yourself.
don't forget that, at the height of COVID, I think we all went through an adjustment phase,
Yeah.
right? So, off the back, I would not necessarily say depression. We
Mhm.
just had to adjust to a new normal.
A
The
new
people that
normal.
got stuck are the ones that could not adjust. But
Mm.
many have, and were able to pivot and accept the present moment. And
Mhm.
those that didn't pivot or didn't adjust, those are the ones that became depressed.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm thinking about the sister who said it's been a year. So
Mhm.
in a year, we were deep in COVID, right? So now here I'm learning to adjust to the new normal. Now I lost a loved one, right? And then here we are another year later. We're dealing with two different strands of COVID. I done lost my loved one. The seasons has changed. When do I need help? When do I go for help at this point?
Now,
I
Mm,
was, yes, now.
now, because now when you're thinking about it, right, it's multifactorial, it's compounded. COVID, grief, right? Seasons change, right? It's a little bit of everything. So
adjustment disorder. Because
now,
now I have to adjust to the new norm, to
mm-hmm,
losing my loved one, to the seasons changing.
mm-hmm. Now you're isolated from your friends and family. Now, most
Mhm.
definitely now.
I like that. You was like, now.
Now.
So this is good info the church can put out during this time of the year. Do they even have anything on this that you can give out to people to just say, hey, mental check, self check? Is there anything out there for that?
Yeah, Google. Google.
Google, look, listen, I'm not going in
There,
there about Google because
Yeah,
there's
so
there
there's
are
this
great
book,
reputable sites out there that you can get
right?
good basic information. Another great tool is YouTube. You can just throw the topic in there and click on a video. If it resonate with you, you listen. If it doesn't, you move on to the next, right? Because
okay.
all they need is the basics.
Hmm.
Basics. Just know the basics, know the signs, know the symptoms, and just assess themselves. If they feel like, hey, I can benefit from some professional help, then start with your primary care provider, and he or she will do a referral to a mental health provider, and you can get the process going, or even a therapist. Right now, there's so many different therapy tools on the internet. You can do it from the comfort of your home. So
Hmm.
that's a plus, right?
Hmm.
And they can, get a session or two once a month and, go from there. And if they feel like they still need a little bit more, then the therapist can guide them to a provider that, who can further prescribe some medications.
Okay. All right. So you have tuned in. You're watching Real Talk with Ellison, and we are joined with Arnella and Rochelle. We're talking about seasonal affective disorder, which is SAD. Is also, known as major depressive disorder with, seasonal effects on it. So we're talking about this right now, and it's real. A lot of people, they kind of get away from, oh, you're okay, you're fine, but this is a real diagnosis. It's real, and a lot of people don't, oh, you be all right. You hear it, especially in different cultures. So then you start talking about going to therapy in certain cultures because I'm feeling SAD. This is where we kind of don't share our feelings with, right? So then we have one that says, I'm fully retired and every day is different. Some days I lounge and some days I get dressed, I go walking, but not depressed or for not being active. Share about people who are retired. So in that, she said, share about people who are retired. So now if I'm retired and I'm lounging, because I don't work 20, 30 years, right? How do I know again the difference between SAD and I don't work 20, 30 years. I just want to sit here in my pajamas and relax.
So people that have just retired, right? Remember, they are embarking on a new journey. So they are going through an adjustment period.
Do we need to have a show on adjustment disorder?
Adjustment period. They are
I am so serious because I know a lot of people that's retired or getting ready to, and they're like losing it. Maybe we need to
absolutely.
have one.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes,
because
they
they
are
are.
adjusting, especially people that was military. Remember, for the last 20 plus years, they are told what to do. Now you're retired, you have all the time in the world, nobody telling you what to do, where to go. So that is like, woo, that is an adjustment. And
Yeah.
they have to acknowledge that,
Okay.
and that's where you can get a life coach,
Mm.
right? You can get active in your community. You can go volunteer a few hours of the day. You
Yeah.
can find a hobby, something that you like doing and do it, right? But oftentimes we're so used to be on the go and fill our time with things. We don't know how to sit still and just embrace the stillness. Stillness
Mm.
is scary to human beings.
Yeah.
They just feel like I have to fill this void. I have to fill this quiet time, but not necessarily.
You can
I
meditate.
Go
You
ahead,
can
Arnella.
meditate.
I like that you said that because and we have to be careful because in our go right, in our go, is it a diversion? Are we not sitting with ourselves? Are we running? Are we not dealing with something? So we have to again analyze, like, why are we going? Is it a filler for something else? What about, I just don't like being lonely? How do I get past that?
Do I take that,
Arnella?
Rochelle?
Go for
She said she threw it
it.
at you, Rochelle. I did say Arnella, but that's okay. But
Oh, you did
seriously,
say
because
Arnell. Okay.
SAD, right? We get into this lonely, and I don't like being lonely, so I'm going, going, going. But what is it? What is it that I'm running from?
So basically, we have to think because sometimes, people who have bipolar disorder, which is another topic for another day, you know, can also get to that point where they cannot be still and they may not have recognized it, but, they have this increased need to just be on the move all the time. And I'm not saying that's the only criteria for being bipolar, but some people, there are disorders out there which when it becomes excessive, like you can't be still, you want to be always be the center of attention, you want to always call somebody in the middle of the night because when you were not, I'm thinking we're talking about being retired now and still want to be on the go. Some people have that kind of personality as well, where they always want to be the center of attention, they always want to be where someone is admiring them, or they just want to go 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 because there's something in their brains basically that is not allowing them to just sit still and meditate.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
sometimes, we are so busy in our military lives that there are things that are going on with us. I've known military people which it took them 18, they have been in the military for 18 years or 19 years, and they didn't even know that they had bipolar because that disorder basically, because they've been so busy, that's part of the manifestation of it, just keeping busy and going until one day they just snapped.
Mm-hmm. So
They
it says
just
when I
snapped.
say when I what it say when I say still, I don't have what was the last comment? I didn't read that. When I stay still, I mean not having work to do. So you feel like you don't have anything to do. But in the process of being having SAD, going through that part, right? Um how important is it to not isolate?
It's very important never to isolate. Isolate is isolation, I think, is so detrimental to, the human psyche. We are created to need people. We thrive with people, right? In that community setting. So the minute you isolate, it's like you're not even giving yourself a chance to, bring people with you to help you, to encourage you on this journey. You just completely shutting down, right? And some people by nature, they don't like being a burden to others, right? But that's why it's important that you have a core group of trusting people, because
Mhm.
people that you trust and the feelings are mutual amongst each other, you won't feel like you're being a burden, and you'll be more willing to share what you're going through, and they can be your accountability partner. They can check in on you, do wellness checks, right? They can help get you out of that funk.
Okay. Okay, I
It's
think that's good because so many times when people are going through now, and I think about the comment with the lady who made that comment about, we want to kind of pull back because either we don't want to be a burden or we don't want somebody to know we're still going through or whatever the case may be. But now is the time to engage a little bit more. How careful do I need to be if I am an introvert and I'm isolating? How do I know when I'm isolating because I'm pulling back because of SAD, or I'm just pulling back because I'm introverted? How careful do I need to be?
I think you need to be very careful because introverted people by nature, they're already like closed off socially, right? They are by themselves. They're not stimulated by their exterior. So they're already closed off. So those people will require people that know them, know their tendency, right? Know their habits, because something, you will always have a red flag somewhere. Something is going to be different about you, and somebody that know you can pick up on it and hone in on it and not be scared to ask you what's going on. I know you're introverted, but I know you at least will call me once a week. Now you're not making that phone call,
Mm-hmm.
right? What's going on? Are you okay? What do you need? I think we need to get out of the habit of saying to people, hey, if you need anything, let me know. Sometimes
Yes.
people don't even know what they need. We have to
Right.
be specific, like, hey, how are you doing in this season? How is work? How is school? How are the children?
Yeah.
Specific, intentional questions,
Yeah.
because it's so easy for us to be like, I'm good, life is good. But more often than not, we're not good,
Yeah. And
right?
that's the one thing people always say, "Oh, I'm good," or some, "Oh, I'm blessed," or "Oh, I'm making it." But it's important to say, you know what, I'm having a moment right now.
Yeah.
How,
So
how do you know?
Go ahead, Arnella.
to go back to what Eric had said. I think it's Eric that said something about not having any work to do, and that may contribute to being sad. So right, I mean, not having work to do.
Yeah,
So yes, you know, yes, you don't have work to do, but there's always, you may not be working for someone else out there, but there's always work to do, because you can get yourself immersed in basically helping someone who wants to be in the military. You can basically get yourself, you know something to do, hobbies.
yeah,
Once you are in the military, you do not have time to see about stuff around your house. You did not have time to do a lot of things. Then now is the time for you to
right.
get that done. And it's not being not having work to do. There's always work to
There's
do.
always work to do. I like
Always
that.
work to do.
We gonna have this adjustment. We gonna have this adjustment one
Right,
in
right.
January. I'm pulling y'all. I'm pulling y'all on the show right now and letting y'all know we're gonna have to do this because there's a lot of people dealing with that. So let me ask you this: treatment, right? Treatment. I heard you guys yell out there about vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
That I can get. Arnella, I heard you yell about the light box so that
Yeah.
I can try to get the fake vitamin D, whatever the case may be. So, what are
Mindfulness.
some treatments
Mm-hmm.
out there for SAD?
Right. So suppose you don't want, some people don't like medications, period. So like we said, therapy, dealing with mindfulness, groundedness, those are some of the things that can help, getting light therapy done. Those are the things that can help. But sometimes, when it comes to, yes, I'm doing light therapy. Yes, I'm doing mindfulness. Yes, I'm doing groundedness, but I'm still stuck. I'm still sad. I'm still really, really unmotivated. So there are medications like Wellbutrin, there are medications like Prozac, and basically, like I tell my clients, taking Wellbutrin is like drinking, and even using Prozac is like drinking a cup of coffee. It kind of
Wow.
stimulates you to go because it does have norepinephrine, and it does have dopamine. Dopamine is responsible for mobility. Norepinephrine is the fight and flight reaction that keeps you going. So
Hmm.
yes, sometimes the medication and therapy, or therapy and medication, they both work.
Yeah. So you keep saying this light box. So for our viewers that are not familiar about the light therapy, do you care? Either you or Rochelle, you want to elaborate a little bit more on what that means, what that is?
Do you want me to take that, Rashad?
Sure.
Okay. So, there is certain, it's like you can go to Walmart and just buy that kind of lamp, because remember we are saying that when the light goes down, then the sadness goes up. So most people, they need that kind of light that basically you can sit in front of that light for like 20 minutes or so that your mood can be lifted, so to speak. um, you can go online and order it anywhere. Amazon, Walmart, those are some of the stores that carry it.
And it's called what?
Either a light box or just light therapy.
Okay. All right. That's really good to know because a lot of people don't know about that. And if that's what we need, then why don't we try it, especially for those who are not, wanting to take medication or anything
Right.
else. And then you also said like because if it's not sad, then you might need the medication, but get with a therapist, get with a friend, social, is it okay to force yourself to be out there because I'm stuck in the mood if I don't want to?
No, you can do your. I tell my clients. I said, look, you do not have to go to a gym to be around other people to do exercise. You can get up in the mornings and stretch. Number one, we have natural endorphins in our body, and when we stretch, they kick in, and you have that feeling of almost euphoria when you stretch your limbs. And if there's military people there, they know that stretching, exercise, yoga, after you finish all that, you do have that energetic feeling going forward. So
Okay.
you don't have to go out there, just go into your bathroom and do it.
Would the tanning booth be considered a light box?
I don't think so. I think tannin is something totally different. Yeah,
Okay.
most
So
definitely.
can you just explain, because that question, so it lets me know that some of us don't really know, but explain what the light box, like what kind of light it is.
So they can go on the internet and just throw light box. They have some at Bed Bath and Beyond. Like I literally type light box and Google finish my sentence for seasonal affective disorder. And Amazon popped up, Best Buy popped up, Bed Bath and Beyond, and it ranged anywhere from $30 to
Mhm.
$90, even one for $180.
Okay. So
So
it's a specific light.
say again.
It's a specific light.
Specific light, as in you're
So
talking
it's
about
not the tan in bed
like
light.
no, not standing red light. Yeah, 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 yeah. And you can even use LED lights and put them on you too. That is still effective. Yeah.
That's awesome. That was good information to know. So I appreciate you ladies for coming on. We are here on Real Talk with Ellison with Arnella Edwards and Rochelle Bailey. I appreciate you ladies. You are very informative. If you had to leave one nugget for our viewers tonight, and Arnella, I'm gonna start with you. What would be one nugget that you would want to leave with them as in reference to this topic?
Exercise at least 3 times a week for just 20 minutes a day. It doesn't have to take up your whole day. 20 minutes a day for at least 3 days a week. And basically, if you feel yourself becoming closed in, if you feel yourself changing from your normal self, you know that you're this happy person. And when this time of the year comes around, you start getting down in the dumps, so to speak. And there has not been anything that is throwing you off. There has been nobody died, nobody there's no adjustment, nothing happened, but you just feel yourself getting depressed. check yourself check yourself and take action.
Check yourself and take action. All right, Rochelle, follow that up.
I would say you are not alone. You don't have to go through this alone, right? Surround yourself with people that can support you. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There are tons of resources available. You don't have to be depressed. You don't have to be continuously sad. Also, be truthful with who you are.
Mm,
Be truthful. You can do something small as every day finding three things to be thankful for, right? Doing regular check in with yourself. Ask yourself, how am I doing? How
mm,
am I feeling? Right? And if you can't answer that question, we got to do a deeper dive.
self awareness, self check-ins. I appreciate those nuggets. They were awesome. They were powerful. I thank you ladies again, Arnella and Rochelle, for being here. You have been watching Real Talk with Ellison. We have been talking about seasonal affective disorder, SAD. Stay tuned. Upcoming next week, we're going to be talking about mind over body. We're going to be talking with someone who got I think they call body makeovers. I don't really know what they call, but anyway, it's about the mind, even though she got her body made completely over. So we're going to be talking about that. And then the following week, we're also going to be talking with two local community people that's involved in the community service. So that's the upcoming next couple 2 weeks. And y'all are going to see these ladies in January, because I'm going to work on them, because we're going to talk about that adjustment disorder come January. Yes.
Well, there's a lot to get adjusted to when the year starts.
Yeah, so we might as well get started in the beginning of the year, tell them how to work on getting adjusted, right? So thank
Yes.
you
Absolutely.
all again. Thank you all of viewers that tune into Real Talk. Listen, y'all do self-checks. If you know somebody going through, share this out. It is real. You are not alone. And it's so important that you don't revert back into a shell, but you allow people in and you say, hey, I need some help. Identify that you need help and get some help, even if it's talking to a friend. Surround yourself around people who love and appreciate and just are there for you genuinely. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Talk, and I am Ellison. You have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, ladies. Good night.
Okay.